Hey everybody, welcome. Just want to test this. Everything's working all right. Let me know if you can hear me all right. Should be able to. Hopefully, there is no problems, but let me know if there is. Let me test this real quick. Hey everybody. Okay, everything seems to be working fine. So I already started doing some stuff, but we're going to be testing it together. The GPT-4 Auto Coder 2. Should edit the title. Yeah, Auto Coder 2. Just one moment. Oh, thank you, Parth. Appreciate it. So here, I already started one to create an agent with memory, but then I realized the original, getting all the information just passed the two prompt template classes. So I was going to start that again, but here I'm just building a TK into user interface, calculator user interface. Let's see how that goes. In the meantime, I just want to say real quick, because the getting of the, maybe I'll zoom in a little bit, but not too much, because we're going to be running two instances of the code. The reason is because it's kind of slow to get the information from URL, so maybe I thought we'll have two running at the same time. Try different ideas on both. Feel free to make suggestions, by the way. For example, if you have so we have our code right here. We are using Visual Studio Code, but I had trouble launching two instances of Visual Studio Code with this exact same folder. It always goes back to this folder that's already open. So I found that if you want to run two instances of the same file, in this case like the browse.py, actually the way to do it is, how did I do it? Oh, okay. You know how you launch your command prompts? So if you first have to have your terminal open, this thing right here. Normally it's kind of slow like this, small like this. So to run it, to run multiple instances of the same file, you come here to, as though you're creating a command prompt, but instead you go to split terminal and then click on command prompt. See, now we're starting a third command prompt. You do have to be in the right environment. Now after this, see, we can even run three instances of it. Which one is which though? This one. Oh shoot. I closed the wrong one. Anyway, and then once you have them open, the way to run your code is you are already in the, make sure you are already in the right directory. Sorry, I just woke up, so I'm a little bit, I'll get better over time. You say Python, right? And then browse.py to run your file. That is the name of the file. And then we can do the same here. .py. And then now we can run two instances side by side at the same time. So this is good. You can run multiple experiments at the same time, which we will do right now. We have to accept the error, the warning message that we'll be running AI generated code automatically. So do you want to load URLs? Yes. With this first one, let's say yes. Let me bring this here. So I was looking at this, right? So I was looking at langchain documentation and thinking, okay, what can we do? For example, here's a custom LLM agent. So here's the documentation. Normally you'd have to read through this documentation, copy these one by one, and sometimes not all of it. Because see, right here, you set up your LLM, set up the agent, use the agent. So this is done like right after this. So the next part is like adding memory. For example, so how about we copy this URL, paste it, only this, okay? Because this uses automatically conversational buffer memory, but that's an additional information. So you would first have to just run an agent without memory, right? Make sure it's working. And then if you want to add memory, then you have to come in and you're going to figure out, oh, okay, I have to add this. Template with history. For example, you'd have to replace this template with this template with history. So you'd have to read and you have to figure this out. You can't, you guys, you could just copy paste it there because you are using that as the template. And then, but you'd have to initialize your LLM chain. You'd have to replace that line, right? So instead of that, I mean, this would take some time especially if you're a beginner. So let's just see how well the autocoder do with this, something like this. Let me move this here. And let me grab only this. Okay. So we already have done that, right? Oh, this is not it. Yeah. So we've entered one URL. We're going to get the contents from that URL. Now, this part is tricky because you'd have to, we're not passing the entire contents of the URL into the agent. If you remember, if you watched the other video, what we're doing is we are getting the content of the URL right here. Okay, we are loading it with PlayWright, and then we are loading it into data, and then we are creating this combined content. If there are more than multiple URLs, and then instead of passing the entire thing, we are making a call to GPT-4 to get that combined content and extract the most essential information, especially code blocks. We're trying to reduce the quantity of information we're going to give for the final call to GPT-4. But while you're doing that, of course, you're relying on GPT-4 not to leave aside any of the information you need. But what happened with me, before this live stream trying, for example, there's this custom output parser class. It has to extract this entire thing and put it into that, put it into here. We're going to see if it does that or not. Now, if it doesn't do that, it's not going to know how to write this from scratch. Okay, and the process is going to fail. So I just want to remind you of that. But then if you put in this entire thing, look, let me demonstrate something to you. So here's the tokenizer counter. If I were to grab this entire thing, this is 3,100 tokens. So we would be inserting 3,100 tokens into the GPT-4, which is fine. It's going to be expensive, right? And you might run into token limitation errors. Like, let's say, if you wanted to use two URLs of the same length, then you're almost about to run into the token limit. So you're going to get an error probably, or your final code is not going to be complete because the token context window for GPT-4 is 8,000. Anyway, so we're still getting, but then if you do this call ahead of time to actually extract the information, here we did that. Okay, see, it did get the custom output parser. So essentially, you want to review this, make sure that it has the necessary information. Let's take a quick look. See, does it have the imports, for example? It doesn't seem to have the imports. As a template, output parser. Yeah, see, it didn't seem to get all the. Let's try this again. Let's say we get around Python browse.py again. By the way, in the right one, let's say we don't want to load any URLs. Let's just try to Python calculator with tk inter UI. Let's just get that. Let's just get this one going with that. Since we're using multi-line input, we do have to say done. If you watch the video, we are getting the multi-line input, user multi-line input, and you do have to have a key phrase to end that, because you have to end. You have to at some point end that multi-line input. Let's just start this. But so we are entering an agent executor chain right away, right here. This one's going to try to build a calculator with tk inter UI. I just want to mention another thing you can do is, if you want to, you can actually copy the entire content because we have multi-line input. Okay, this is a trick. Like, let me demonstrate. I can copy the, so I have to first accept. It says, do you want to load any URLs? No. So now we're going to give it instructions. What I can do is instead I can copy this entire thing if I want to. Okay, entire thing. And actually, I keep going to the wrong window. Here we go. See, I can actually put it right here. So, so this is my input, and I'm not done yet. I'm going to say, create a custom agent without any memory. Why am I saying without any memory? Because in this page, it explains how to have memory. Let's see if we can do that, right? Without memory first. So then we say done. You can follow the steps below. Let's see if it does that. So when it usually, okay. Let's see if it does that. This is going. So, right. So this solves that problem in a way. Do you think recursive meta prompt works here? It could, but you'd have to implement it. I mean, you would have to run it. Maybe. So there are two prompts here, right? One is, so we're making a vanilla GPT-4 call to hopefully get the URLs compressed into a less, like a smaller format with all the necessary information, code blocks and everything in it, right? So it has, this is its prompt. So this might need some improvement. But we also have this prompt template, which is the one that is running the agent right now. So this is pretty long. We are actually importing this right into browse.py. Somewhere here, right here, say prompt template. We are importing from imports. So this definitely needs improve. Like this can definitely, I feel this can definitely be improved. Look, when I was creating this code, it took me like 20 hours, and I think like 11 hours of it was dealing with this prompt, because mostly it was waiting time too, because when you paste in a URL and send it for this to be done, for this call to be done, like that takes a minute to 2 minutes each time. I wish I had figured out that I can run multiple ones at the same time. Okay, see, pay attention to what's happening on this TK inter here. You see, it stopped. This happens sometimes. I'm not sure why that happens, actually. So it was creating the buttons, and it stopped. This might be because it's getting an error from the API. Yeah, if you use Palpa, if you use GPT 3.5 with this, first of all, it just cannot do this part very well, and also this part, because it's getting feedback. Actually, GPT 3.5 might do fair well in the code generation part for the agent, but this part I think kind of has to be GPT-4, but you can still try it. But in like worst case scenario, like I said, you can enter the entire link yourself. If you don't want to copy paste, that's what I was going to say. You can just skip this step. See, so when we load the URLs, see, we are loading the URLs, whether a single URL or up to 3 is the code allows currently. You can change that. Then your data is your thing, right? And you got to print the data. So the thing you need out of this data is this object. Data 0 dot page content. Okay, see, that's what we're doing here. We're getting the page contents, but because we're doing a for loop, it's automatically getting the indexes of each. So you need to have this. You can just pass, so you can skip this. You can completely comment this out. Don't make a call, and pass this object, the 0th first element of data dot page content into the content right here. So that will be your content. because if you look at the main prompt template, it says blah blah blah, and then it says you have access to additional content. It says somewhere over here, and you're inserting that content right here, and then the tools. So you can do that, is what I'm saying. You can either paste it like I shown you, or you can actually just completely bypass this step, which is the call to OpenAI, because you are getting the data. This is the important part. You're getting the data. You need this element, first element dot page content, and then after that you can just pass that into the LLM chain down here, right here. So sorry, with the prompt template, and then that's it. All you have to do is pass it into the prompt template so that this prompt template will engage it. Here we had an error. See, okay, we are getting an OpenAI API error. I hope this doesn't, persist during the live. So Damien, you said add in the prompt. Think carefully, step by step, what code would be useful. There is a paper about you working better with reflection. Yeah, makes sense. I'll use the multi-threaded. Yeah, I tried to do that in a way. I mean, I guess they call that, what is it? COT, prompting, something of thought, I forgot what it was. But yeah, you're trying to get it to kind of self-reflect, do things step by step. But I mean, there's not one perfect way to do it as far as I know. So I tried to do it. I tried to say, like, first of all, I tried to get it to store the user requirements in a dictionary, then to go step by step here. See, write the code step by step, starting from the first step. Another thing that was important here, chain of thought. Yeah, thank you, Mage. So it's called COT, chain of thought. But it's difficult to do it without giving it a example, one-shot or two-shot example. I tried. You see, I did try to give I gave a halfway one-shot right here example thought, because see, I ran into several issues with this. Okay, so let's get this going again. No, calculate Python calculator with PK inter UI. This is done, by the way. We're gonna test it. What's happening is that sometimes the agent starts to have like some kind of thought, and it tries to list things, and then it'll get an error, which the LLM agent doesn't like, and then the program crashes because it has, right after the thought, it has to continue with action. So if it doesn't do that, then it crashes due to the way the agent class is working. If you come here, like, there's an agent class, and we are importing it right here. See, agent executor requires that somehow, and if it doesn't do that, that's why I added this. When I added this sample thought, and I added in the sample thought right here action and then action input, then it alleviated that problem for the most part. Another problem was with the print statement, because see, I try to tell it here, because see, if it runs the errors, this agents, right, if it runs the errors, you'll hear this complaint a lot. It just gets in a loop. Like it just makes up a solution. It says, oh, I'm just going to try this, and it just goes on trying it, and that's not the right way, and then it fails, and it tries that again, or some other stuff that's not going to work. So the way to get the agent on course is, I try to say right here, okay, I said, when you run into problems, say, if you run into errors, don't make up a solution, use print statements instead to identify the problem. So here's the crucial part. You will only be able to observe the last line of the output, so don't run any other code. So this is another problem which still persists. So it'll run into, but like half the time, maybe better than half the time, it'll actually succeed in this. The thing is that, let's say, look at this code, right? Now we have to stay down here. Let's say I'm just making this up right now, but let's look here. Let's say it's having a problem like right here. So let's say this line is running an error. So it needs to put a print statement right after this and not put anything else after that. Because if it does that, and if any other code after that returns any kind of output, then it's not going to be able to see the print output of the print statement, because it only sees the last line of the output. So that's why I was trying to prompt it so that if it runs into an error, it knows it tries to guess where the error is coming from. Hopefully, let's say from the regex. Okay, and then maybe it's going to print regex. It wants to look at what regex value here is, or whatever the match is, right? And then do not do this after that. And only after you figure out the problem here, oh, okay, then I have to fix this code, then continue. And it does that, not always. So these were some of the problems that took me 11 hours to figure out. You got to get it to. I actually tried to modify what did I try to modify? The one that is returning the output. And I tried to return more than one line of output back into the agent, but I couldn't succeed. So see, look at this, for example. So it built this code, it ran it, and its observation is the output, and it just receives one line of output. And then it has to just go off of this. Plus its prompt, plus the code I had written. So it's still going on. So these were some of the problems. Let me read what people are saying on the chat real quick. The special characters, break the agent. Oh, another thing I want to say. So apparently it finished this. It didn't return the code in its entirety. We would have to copy it one by one. Let's do that. Let's see if it works. So another problem, but if you run a code, if the code that it is generating, or maybe you requested it, takes in user input with the Python input, right? Okay, like input, right? You take user input, like user input equals input something. If you have something like this in your code and you're running it in an automatically executing environment such as this one, or like with subprocess, you can still enter these inputs, but you're not going to be able to see this print statement. But what will happen is that your code will pause right here, and it'll just make a little, it'll make that, this thing right here. So you'll just have to know what you need to, and then you'll have to enter it and press enter, and it'll actually accept that. Just keep that in mind. If the code that the agent generates requires user input, you can still enter it, but you won't be able to see these statements. But you can still enter it, is what I'm saying. Okay, this is see, it didn't really follow because in the instructions I say that return the final code. Somewhere here I say return the final code in its entirety. So your final response should include the code in its entirety, because you probably don't want to go back and do a bunch of copy pasting. But I guess so I know the final answer. Final answer is this. But we do need these. All right. So don't be mad at me if this doesn't work. I tried. Okay. I mean, this obviously needs more work, but we'll see if it works or not. I'm saying the entire code. like all of this, right? Oh no, what happened? Oh. Agent scratch pad. Oh, it's trying to... No, I'm making a mistake. This has to go here. Intermediate steps, thoughts. See, these are not defined. Well, we're going to define it here. Anyway, I'm going to try to put this together. Let's see if it'll work. So, in the meantime, this one is done. S2.py. Yeah, see, it didn't return the entire code. Entry. I'm jumping all over the place. I have created the function buttons, respective functions. See, it's not a great idea to run two at the same time. You gotta kind of follow this stuff. Let's see. I've created the function buttons, added their respective functions. Now I will run the calculator. See, it tried to run the calculator, but it didn't really run it. I know now the final answer. Yeah, I'm not sure if it, I don't know where we begin. I don't think this is correct. Huh. Anyway, let's just do the agent one real quick. Where were we? Let's not get distracted. Sorry, guys. Sorry, everyone. Anyway, feel free to make suggestions. So I'm just trying to explain some of the thought processing I had. Where were we? Let me see. For action observation. Create a custom output parser. Normally you would just follow this process and copy paste them one by one. I guess we should have done that. Maybe we'll try it next. Okay, this is it, I think. Custom class prompt template. We need this too. Do we have the custom class prompt template? No. Maybe that's why it's having this problem. Output parser is not defined. It is defined, but we're having, see when you're return. This has to be in a, oh, I see. Like that. Class. Custom prompt template. We gotta get that. Where was it? Custom prompt template. Right here. Okay, I'm making a mistake here. Let's just run this again. Honestly, I'm pretty confused. Sorry, but oh yeah, thank you, Pi. I appreciate that. So let's run this. We are Python browse. We're gonna accept it. We don't want to load any URLs. Let's just say no, and let's do that thing we did again. So we are going to, where is it? We are going to copy this entire code. So I mean the documentation, custom LLM agent. And give it as context. Because you can do that. We were trying to demonstrate that you don't always have to put in URLs. We actually skip the URLs and we can actually give it, because we can give multi-line input, we can give the entire documentation as input. If it, that is, we said that is if you don't want to shorten the documentation, right? You can do this. And after that, we're going to say create a working agent. Let's say agent without any memory. And then done. We do have to say done for multi-line input, because this documentation at the end explains how to add memory to it, but we just want this part working. And then I was hoping we'll try to add it towards the end. Well, let's see. So let's follow this and copy paste this as we go along, see how well it does. So it's doing. So it says, I need to create a working agent without any memory. Okay. It didn't create any dictionary or anything like that, because, I mean, there is really no complex instructions we've given. So it is doing the imports plus the custom output parser. Is that how it is here? Well, here it first the imports. Let's do it like this. First the imports, and then custom output parser. Here it's defining a tool and a template. Okay, see, it's going about it differently, but it is doing so. It is doing the template. It thinks it's done. It didn't run it. I don't think this is going to work. Why am I getting these errors? I am in Python. Let me see, is it langchain.agent import agent output parser? Yeah, that's true. Huh, that's interesting. Anybody know why this is happening? Langchain.agent. Oh, agents. See, it's making small mistakes. And there is no langchain.llm here. Yeah, see, this is interesting. So it didn't do very well. Okay, let's try it again while with loading the URL. So we're gonna copy the URL to this custom LLM agent documentation. So we're getting the content, right? But we were saying that this is gonna take a while because we're making a call to GPT-4 with this content and try to extract the necessary information from it. So this part takes a moment. And then I was explaining that instead of doing that, we can actually give the entire context if you don't want to wait. But then you're going to have all kinds of extra stuff like this kind of information. I don't know if this is absolutely necessary. Like all of this. plus some of the sample outputs, like such as this, which is probably not necessary to the function. Like, so all of this would be extra in this case. Like the agent itself doesn't probably need this to work good, but we're getting it anyway. Here we go. And here, does anybody have a suggestion? Let's just like try like some just regular instructions, which we can run and it'll test itself. Like one of the examples from the documentation was to create a neural network. Create a let's say 10 neuron neural network and train it on a synthetic data set of, so x equals 2y. X equals 2y was the example that was present in the documentation, but let's modify this. Let's do, because when I was learning neural networks like 5-6 years ago, or 7 now, I always used to try to create this data set x plus y equals z. I was trying to teach it addition. It's just, just let's see if this will work. So x plus y equals z is addition, right? Just to create x and y values and z values, and then if it review the content, if it works, you will have a kind of like a neural network addition maker. Let's just try this. So it gave it thinks it has summarized it. So create an agent in Python. Run it to make sure it is working. Let's do this. So we are creating a neural network without any documentation, and we are trying to replicate this custom LLM agent without memory, because in this documentation it talks about adding the memory. If we can get this working, maybe we'll also try to add the memory as well. Okay, it's doing the imports. Let's get this. Okay, see, it did better this time. So what might be happening is that when we paste the entire documentation, see, it's probably getting confused, honestly. We're giving it too much information. Look, in comparison, let me copy this. What it returned, what it thinks is the essential information is this from that documentation, right? Let's copy this. And we had looked, where is it? We had looked that page included 3,100 tokens, but the summarized version is only 1,000 tokens. So, and if the example that which we have given is any indication, giving it too much information is maybe confusing it. Because remember when we gave the entire page, the imports were all wrong. Like, I mean, I'll just show you. This was the previous imports it did with the entire information, and look, every single one of these is wrong. So obviously this code is going to need a lot of looking after. But the problem with summarizing the contents of the documentation is that now sometimes it's just going to like skip stuff. Here, for example, I feel like it had skipped. It included the custom output parser class, but I thought it needed the custom prompt template class too. Well, let's see what happens. This is tool template. Okay. We need all of this. So I'm trying to figure out. New agent. I need it until here, I believe. Is this correct? Tools. Tool names. Right here. Action input. We need the observation. Was it doing that? No. Well, let's see where it goes. So I'm having difficulty keeping track of it. The final answer to the original input question. Huh. I don't know, like it cut the, here it's creating the template, but it cut it in, no action input after that, observation. No, I guess this was correct. Oh yeah, here. I had to get all of this. Sorry, my mistake. It's early in the morning for me. All right, now we have that. Class, prompt. Oh, it's doing that. Good. Oh, wow. Okay. Maybe this will work. I just wish it would return the entire thing as it should. So, unless I made a mistake, this is the whole thing. So it thinks this should run. Well, let's cross our fingers and see. Let's press play. No. What does it say? Key error, input variables. On line 59. You forgot the input variables. Okay, let's start like that. Hey, Beyond. No, not really. It's okay. If you're putting it into vector store, don't you need to summarize too? Yeah, we are not using a vector store. Let me see what's going on. 59. Value input. Yeah, but here's the thing. So yeah, I do try to play it. It's having a problem with this because it didn't put the input variable. So I'm just gonna look at the documentation here in a second, see what the input variables are. Oh, input intermediate steps. Yeah, we need that. That's right. So it skipped that part. But I mean, if this is the only error, this is pretty good. I hope so. Anyway, so extra fields not permitted. I'll come back to this. So beyond what happens, so in my own experience, okay, I have, for example, I have turned the entire langchain repository into vector store. Tried to play with it. It did not work at all because it has a lot of abstract classes. It just completely fails. If you were to go to, so I'm just gonna try to highlight why this is like, if you go to langchain GitHub and if you try to parse the repository, like if you go to langchain, right, this doesn't include any of the like working code, right? Like document, if you go to document loaders, this is all like classes and stuff. Like, you know, it's not going to know what to do with these. I mean, if that has been my experience. If you instead turn the entire documentation into a repository, then you'll essentially get this. langchain has that. They have a chatbot. Okay. So if you were to go to blog, langchain blog, it says somewhere here, I think, or in the somewhere in Twitter. So essentially, chatbot. What I'm saying is that this is a chatbot that is trained on the entire documentation. Okay, let's ask that question we just asked. What if we ask to? We said create a custom Python code. So create a Python script with custom LLM agent without memory. So this is doing exactly what you suggested, right? This is going to now search the vector store and give an answer. Let's see. Let me say including this in Markdown. So let's see if this is. That's actually interesting. So it has the template. But what is this format? Let's go to langchain documentation. Agents. We were trying to do this custom LLM. So see, it's trying to do, let me copy this. Can I? So see, it's not finishing the code, but that's fine. I mean, if you build your own, you could probably find a solution for this. How can I copy this? Copy. Bring it here. So it's trying to define a def parse. And there is no def parse, for example, here. There is a custom output there is a custom output parser which has that function in it. So it's trying to define it as a function. So I don't know. So see, it's making a mistake. I feel like let's just ask this again. Refresh. Okay, wait. Let's restart it. I mean, in my experience, I felt like it just because there's just so many like. See, this time it just gave a link how to add memory to an agent. That's it. Like, my point is like this is not a. Let's ask it again. So you can use this. It's if it's at the if you go to langchain's documentation, it's at the bottom right corner. So it cuts off. But it's not defining a class. Say it's supposed to, as far as I understand it, it's supposed to define this custom output parser class, because that needs to take in as a parameter agent output parser, because that is being imported right here. If it doesn't do that, then it's not going to work probably. But essentially, but I'm pretty sure this is using GPT 3.5. If we were to use GPT-4, you know what? I'll actually give this a try too. But my argument, my theory was that, look, there's all kinds of, like, how is it going to know custom LLM agent type from, let's say, custom agent, from custom LLM agent with a chat model? So this custom LLM agent uses OpenAI. So it uses TextDaVinci 003. How is it going to know the difference between this? Because these are, I mean, if I were to search for custom LLM agent, I'm assuming the similarity search is going to hit this as well as it hits this, because it's custom LLM agent. See, it's 2 pages. I have identical titles, for example. So this was, so there's like custom agent with tool retrieval. What if it gets confused with this or something like that? Or what if it doesn't get confused? As a matter of fact, what if it returns as the first choice this, but then let's say you set the K4, right? You're retrieving 4 chunks, and then it returns part of this, and then now it thinks it has to use the tool retriever, whereas it doesn't have to, or something like that, you know? That was my idea. So when I code, right? Let me give you a demonstration here. See, I always forget how to make, especially when the chat completion came out for the first time. I, for the life of me, couldn't remember how to do this because of this. Like, well, how am I going to structure this messages for the chat completions endpoint? So I would always come to this page again and again and copy this, paste it into an empty Python, and then start from there, right? And then I just start building my app. And then I'd forget, oh, well, how do I get the exact response, right? And I'd come here and I have to copy this. This is the proper response format, right? So I take that and I just start working with it. And if I need anything else from the prompt format, like for example, the prompt format returns tokens, then then you'd have to kind of have this as a reference, and then, okay, what do you need here? Do you need the tokens and stuff like that? So you can work with it like this, right? And then essentially what I would do is, like, so this is all the information that is needed to make your API call. Like, this is it. This is all of it. Okay, but you would either have to have a super awesome vector retriever to get this information for you, or you have to do it yourself, or some other way. So my idea was that, well, can we have another way? And let's test it. I actually, where am I? Like, let's load this URL. So all we're gonna do is just, I keep going wrong. Let's load this URL and let's see what this portion returns, right? Like this, make the call to the GPT-4 to get. So we're gonna load that URL in its entirety. Like, let's see how many tokens it is. So this whole thing, which is 400 tokens, and what we need is essentially this this information. If we can have this information, then this is, I'm claiming this is all we need. So because this is the information you need to give to GPT-4, right? That's the assumption. So the idea is how to get this information. Like, I can get it manually, like I did. you can try to I suppose you can try to get this entire documentation, turn into a vector store and try to retrieve it, hopefully, or do it another way. Okay, here, this is our response. I think it got cut off. Let's run this again, because terminal, if see, begin to remember, yeah, it did get cut off, I believe. Let me run this again, because terminal erases stuff. I mean, sometimes want to give it another chance. Oh no, made a mistake. But it needs work for sure. Python browse. Yeah, 3.5 is fast, Damien, but it doesn't do very well because this is like a fragile process, right? It's like a kind of like a double-edged sword. Because, like I was saying, like if you don't extract the necessary information, which we have said in this case to be like that stuff that we were looking at, then the agent's gonna just keep running and running, and it's not gonna. For example, in one of the examples, while I was trying before this live stream, okay, it defined this class. Where was it? It defined this class where I gotta go back one. So this, like they say, it defines this custom output parser, but instead of putting this in, it just puts a pass. Like if it does that, GPT-4 is not going to know how to write this, you know. That's why I put a warning to check to make sure that you have, like, once it's summarized, that it has all the information that is necessary. So, you know, is this perfectly ideal? No, it doesn't. But see here, see it got exactly what we needed. So this is exactly, so if it can do this every time, like, this would be a fantastic system. See, let's copy, like, let's compare. Look, this is what it returned. Just because it's forgetting something here, but doesn't matter. This is it. This is what we have extracted ourselves. So it's essentially the call with messages. See, role, system, content, perfect. It has all four things. It has the sample response object, and it has the response. So we didn't say anything other than this prompt. Content that is provided, it contains instructions in Python code. We need to summarize the content from unnecessary information. I probably meant to say, see, I made a mistake in the prompt. And extract the relevant Python code from the content and other crucial information. So if we can get it to do this, so play around with the code, I mean the prompt, you know, if this works, if you can get this to work perfectly, more times than not, then the agent's gonna have a better chance of succeeding. Like in this case, it did. Let's give it another try. React. So this is a React agent, but this is pretty simple. Custom agent. Let's get this custom agent. Let's just take a look at instead of. Gosh, I can't really speak well today, can I? But I'm saying, let's see what it extracts. Oh no. Yes. Oh, do I? No, I don't save to a file. You can. You mean the extracted stuff? You can actually. You know what? You can save to a file. I'm not. I wasn't. But you totally could. Oh, here. It actually did the neural network stuff. Look, it created. So it created a synthetic data set. So X is going to be random from 1 to 1000. So right, 1000 elements maybe. Split it, the data set, and then it's trying to import TensorFlow, which I don't have installed. Okay, so this is what it returned. Let's take a look. By the way, don't forget about the echohive AI Academy. It's echohive.live. You can search for all this stuff. Like we're talking about agents. It's like instant. All the agent videos I made. So it's like just to make it convenient. You can look at the descriptions and download code links are there. So we're going to compare this to what this returns. So it's importing tool agent executor, base single action agent, SERP API wrapper. It's importing typing, list, tuple, any union. Exactly. Langchain schema, agent action, agent finish. Then defining the SERP API. See, it's doing that. Also, it's defining the search as the search API. So it's actually kind of reorganizing it too. Defining the fake agent. Yeah, look, it defined the fake agent minus the doc strings. So it removed the doc strings. Is that correct? Yeah, that is correct. That looks correct. And then agent equals that, agent executor equals that, tools. So essentially, yeah. So we didn't even run the agent yet. Like this is just the extraction from the URL. This actually looks like it should run. Let's try it. I spoke too soon. Line 23. Tools. Key error. How is that here? Yeah. It looks correct, right? It says tools equals tools. But the idea is that create. So now we hadn't run the agent, right? Create a Python script with an agent. Run it to make sure it runs. Circular, but let's say. So now when it extracts that information, hopefully it'll build the code, run it. If there are any errors such as we were getting, then it'll learn from it and correct itself. Yeah, Damien, that makes sense too. You know, you can have another agent. So Damien said maybe another agent that verifies, checks the final code and the initial prompt, just like Parth was here earlier. I don't know if he's around, but he was saying uh, like meta prompt video, right? Where the agent is actually you interact. I don't know if any of you seen the meta prompt video, but that's in which the two you interact with an agent, and then there's at the end, like let's say you interact with an agent 5 times. It's not a langchain agent necessarily. I mean, I guess it was built on it. And then after every 5 turns, it self-critiques and tries to this one meta prompt, and then it tries to create its own prompt. The idea behind it is that if you're dealing with something that has that you don't know how to write a prompt for, you can instead just talk to the agent, and then because the meta, like you just give it instructions, and then the agent tries to execute your instructions, and then it probably will fail or succeed, most likely fail or something. So you give it feedback. You say, well, this didn't work, whatnot, and then you let's say you do this 5 or 6 times in a row, then that entire conversation goes back to a meta agent, and then the meta agent looks at the entire conversation and starts from a zero empty system prompt and tries to improve on it. It writes a prompt, then starts this 5-step process again. So you interact with an agent with no system prompt. Then meta agent adds a system prompt to it based on the interactions. Then you interact with it again. Then the meta agent again criticizes and changes the system prompt, with the hopes that it will come up with a system prompt that actually gets the job done. So all that is possible, but the thing is that this is already slow as it is. I mean, if you can get GPT 3.5 to do any of these tasks, then that would be wonderful. But like even a single page URL extraction takes about like 20 to 30 seconds, maybe. And that takes time. And then this takes a long time. See, it's doing stuff. Let's see what it is doing. So first I need to create a Python script with an agent. I'll start by importing necessary libraries, creating a basic agent, then I'll create an instance of the agent, run it to make sure it works. Okay. So first of all, this is its first code. Did it run observation tools? So it got an observation as tools. Not sure why. Yeah, see, this is, look, see, it's only being able to see the last line as output. So that's one of the limitations here. Then it says, so it gets this observation tools, but it doesn't even think it's an error, because I guess the keyword isn't even included. This is everything to do with how langchain parses the output. So you see, it doesn't think it's an error. Anyway, then it goes on to have an observation. Agent is a subclass. Now I will run the code. Final answer. It doesn't seem like it interacted very well with itself. Run it. Yeah, see, it's still getting these tools, but it doesn't see it as an error message because of the way the... Yeah, this is a bit unfortunate. Let's try this again. Yes, we do want to load a URL. Maybe I'm asking the wrong question. Any questions, any suggestions, by the way? I hope this was, I don't know if we had a very successful example, but I mean, I hope you realize that we did. I hope you see the value in this. I'm not pretending to say that this works perfectly every time. So first of all, let's fix this. Content that is provided to you contain instructions in Python. We need to summarize the content. Summarize the content from unnecessary information and separate it and separate the unnecessary information, extract the relevant Python code from the content and other crucial information. Keep all code blocks with comments and remove all other content. Your response should be in between triple backticks without the word Python in the beginning of the code. Do not shorten, redact any other Python code. We're still getting the content. See, this is slow. Maybe for demonstration, we can try with 3.5 Turbo 2. If you want to, okay, see, this is what we get. So let's see if this runs the way it is. Fake agent object has no attribute tools. Okay, fine. Create and run an agent without any errors, which answers questions. Okay. So this is when it should really do its magic. Yeah, thank you, Damien. You know, we'll see. Like I tried everything I can to get this working. Maybe, or I think you select a hard example to test, but it should be able to do that too, right? I think in the video, I combined two different URLs and it did really well with that. I actually tested it again and again. It was creating running code like 3 out of 5 times. But I mean, here's the thing. Like in any scenario, you'll have to write, like you'd have to put together this code from documentation anyway, right? And you'd have to debug it anyway. The idea is that if you can get it 95% to where it needs to be, then you can debug the rest of the code too. Like even if it's not 100% perfect. But obviously it needs to be able to run the code, get the error message, and improve itself from it. Okay, so he created a fake agent class, which is from the documentation. And then now it says it's going to run it, and it's going to run into an error. Look, it says I have created and run the agent without any errors. It didn't. So this it didn't run it. We did not get an output. I'm not sure why that is the case. Like that hasn't anything to do with this, like langchain has, because now it's all the agent class that has to do all this stuff. It did create an action input. It's supposed to automatically run this. It thinks it created this and ran, but it didn't, because it should have given an error because it didn't do the imports. Interesting. Did you guys any Patreon supporters? Did you guys run this code? Let me know if you what kind of a success did you end up having. Oh well, look. So it's given us a full code. It claims it ran it without any errors. I don't know, maybe the terminal didn't display it somehow. No, see, we're getting the same error. The thing is, all right, let's grab this. So this is pretty much what the, let's go back to, so this is what the URL returned, right? Let's run this again. We do want to load a URL. No, we can actually paste this here, then say create an agent which answers user questions. So it should really do this just from this alone. Let's give it another chance. I was going to mention something and I forgot. Oh, and another limitation of this is that you cannot have, it doesn't have user input. So, I mean, it doesn't take in additional user input. It's fully automated. You enter your stuff in the beginning, and then there's no way that you can give it any additional instructions or anything like that. Because it's self-running, right? It's supposed to run itself, get the output, and then hopefully fix itself. Hey, Beyond, yeah, let me know how it goes for you. Yeah, they should do it, I'm pretty sure. I mean, because like in my original example, I creates a LLM chain and runs it. Oh, yeah, I mean, I don't know if this particular one. Let's quickly test it. We're kind of going all over the place, but before we do that, I just want to see if this actually runs the code. Look, it's still not running. There's no there's no green stuff. Oh, okay, but it still was creating the fake agent class and implement the plan and a plan methods. Now it should run. See, this should run. Agent executor run. It didn't run. Oh, hey, Mike. Yeah. Okay, well, try it with other things too. And look, like I said, play around with the prompts. Well, I don't want to close this terminal too much because it sometimes clips the outputs. Like, play around with this prompt. And obviously this one is pretty hefty. You can actually start from scratch with this and to like play around with it, honestly. I was saying like this whole thing took me 20 hours and 11 hours of it was dealing with this prompt. So it's kind of fun. You learn a lot of stuff too while doing it. Like I actually gave it a complete one-shot example of like I said, I gave it an example. I said, this is my first attempt. Now I'm going to create a user requirements, create the user requirements. And I would say, right, this, And then I'd say in the second thought process, I'd say, now this is my second attempt and I will update the user requirements. And I'd say like user requirement 1 done, so that it knows that the first one is done. So it's supposed to go like one by one step at a time. But then the difference between the first try was that the first time it creates the user requirements dictionary, and the second time around it has to say, now I will update it, but I could never get it to say that it's going to want to update the, it kept creating the dictionary again and again from scratch. So it was always like, it was getting caught in a loop. So I thought I was helping it by giving it this one-shot example. Essentially, I was hurting it. So then I went back to a more vague example with a bunch of repetitiveness, and essentially a like a halfway example thought. But I created this example thought like a perfect one-shot example, and it actually kind of hurt its performance. Yeah, I was saying whole repo in like say vector store. I didn't have any good luck with that, but vector store is definitely from documentation. Vector store is definitely worth a try, I think. It says this is its final answer, but it hadn't done the necessary imports, I don't think. Yeah. But it never ran the code either. Okay, yeah, please, Mike, let us know. And you're on Discord, right? Yeah. So let's I don't know. Let's try another thing. Okay, let's go to these examples, like question answering over docs. Yeah, but I don't have ChromaDB installed. It takes a long time. I didn't want to do it. Chains. Creating a custom chain. My custom chain. Does any of you ever create a custom chain? Like modifying the class? Can we improve the code manually or try something else? Oh yeah, we were gonna essentially we're trying to automate. So we're trying to automate this process, right? Look, let's go back to that custom agent, right? You would normally come here, paste this like manually yourself. Let's do that. So, and then run it. Let's say could be somebody said beyond or Damien, see if this works actually. Yeah, look. It worked right away. But my idea is that, okay, well, what if you want to add memory to this? Then you would have to go to memory, and then you would have to pick a memory, a conversation buffer memory, and then you would have to load it, and then you would have to figure out, you would have to figure out how to incorporate it into that agent. I was hoping to create a system where it just creates, it just does all of this automatically itself. We can, as a matter of fact, try it one last time and then end it after that. You want to load URLs? Yes. First URL will be the custom agent. Second URL will be the conversation buffer memory. So we're going to get the contents and then ask it to create an agent with conversation buffer memory. This was the whole idea, because this is what I do. This is what you have to do, essentially. And, you know, because there's not a perfect example for each and every. What about if you wanted to implement like knowledge graph memory? You see, it's using it's going to. So it's just using conversation with KG predict. But what if you wanted to implement this with your agent? Like, it's unclear. You know, you'd have to do a lot of manual running, and it's not even clear if this can be incorporated with an agent, but why not? Right? So the idea was that how can we get this to, or what if you want streaming responses, say, like streaming response for chat models. Here's an example. Let's search for streaming. So here's an example of streaming. There is one. So you have to use the streaming std out callback handler, but here it's just using it with the chat. It's just chat OpenAI. But what if you wanted to use it with an agent, right? So these are the problems, like, as I thought, trying to say. So this is what it returned. Conversation chain. Conversation buffer memory. Okay, so then we say create an agent with conversation buffer memory. So the idea is that it should be able to do this, hopefully. Yeah, Damien, but that was the original autocoder, right? I have the app for that. It's online too. You can download the code for that as well. See, GPT-4 Auto Coder, you paste your code here and it improves it, but it doesn't run it. This one doesn't run the code. Well, we'll see. I'm not sure why it's not running the code. So it is imported. Fine. Now I'll update. Yeah, thank you for being a supporter. So you can download the code for both the Autocoder 2, which runs its code, or for this one. The link is in the description. There's also multi-threaded version for that. There is also a debugger for the original Autocoder 2. Actually, that could be worth giving it a shot. I don't know if Parth is here. He was saying that he really improved on this. Maybe he'll share with us in Discord. Okay, so good. It ran. See, this is what we want. It got an error. Takes exactly one positional argument, 3 given. I will check the documentation, fix the error. Let's try it again. 2 were given, like, see, so it did something. Yeah, see, it was given too many conversation chain. I think it was given too many. Let's see if we can figure this out. But I mean, as long as it can run its code, it has a chance of improving itself. See, it says, it seems that the conversation chain class takes only one positional argument. Yeah, so then give it just one, but it keeps giving it 3. See, it identifies the problem. It seems that the conversation chain class take only one position. I will check the documentation, fix the error. Where? See, it keeps running the same error and it's looping. Let's try this one more time. Let's try it with whatever it returned. So this is what it had returned from the URLs. Let's not do the URL part again. We'll skip because we already have the extracted and we are hoping that it has everything necessary. We're going to say no. We're just going to paste it here. Then we're going to say create an agent with conversational buffer memory. Yeah. And then done. So what we did here, if anybody's new, we've extracted from 2 different URLs, one for what was it? Custom agent, one for conversation buffer memory. We're trying to combine both. Yeah, I tried that, Mike. I actually went into the class, so I went into the custom output parser right here. Look, custom output parser. Where is it? I tried to modify this custom output parser. See, value error. See, this is I couldn't get it to return more than one line. But feel free to try it. Agent finish. No, this wasn't it. Sorry. What did I try to modify? There's a class or some method in there which I forgot now which one. This one, I believe. Agent executor. Somewhere here it executes the code. You can go to these classes by control clicking on them, by the way, if you want to modify them. Like if you scroll over it in Visual Studio Code, nothing happens. But if you do control click, then we are opening the agent.py. So I can't remember exactly now, but take a step, take the next step. See here, so okay, exception. See, error handling. So handle parsing error. Like so, something happens here. It's pretty confusing, but exception. I can't find the exact spot that I tried to modify, but there has to be something here that allows it to return more than. And sometimes it gets these nondescript errors. There's nothing like invalid syntax. It keeps, in these cases, it keeps trying to change strategy. It says, I'm trying to see, it assumes it related the predict method before. I will add print statements to identify the problem. But it can't get to the predict statement because it's receiving an error. But if I were to copy this here and run it, I'm probably not so where's the error? I can already see a warning. See right here. If I run this, what do I get? Invalid syntax. So this is all you get. So it's a problem. Yes, it has to be like this. It cannot figure out from like that kind of vague errors. So this is more than one error, but if it were to receive this kind of error, it has a chance of fixing it. But if it receives this nondescript errors, you would expect for it to fix it, because it's just it should know that. But it's trying a bunch of different things. Why is this one invalid syntax? So there's a lot to improve on. So there's no conversation, fine, but this when the langchain ran this, where is it? When the agent ran this, it received invalid syntax. Which one? This one. See, when it ran this code, it received invalid syntax. When I run it, look, when I run it, I get a different error. So I don't know why these things are happening. Look, the error should be name error, name conversation is not defined. So I just copied this exact code from here. But when langchain agent ran this code, it got invalid syntax. And when it receives this kind of errors, then see, it keeps trying different things, but it cannot overcome this, which is, it might be related to this Python word being here. What if we were to include that Python word? Go back. That was another thing I really tried to deal with. Let's run. No. Okay, that's not it. Okay, that's good. Because I think the parser handles for that. So the video for this is in the description, and the code download link as well, if you're interested. Try to improve on it. I mean, Parth was saying that he's going to try to combine this with the original autocoder. Because this one tries to do improvements based on its prompt, but it doesn't run it. It doesn't run the code. Honestly, if you look at the debugger, so the higher tier code includes the debugger. I feel like that debugger would be better doing this, which I'm going to try, because that debugger, you can determine however much of the error message to feed back into it. Let me try it. Let me find it. It's been a while since I looked at that code, but was it this one? First of all, let me stop this, because this is just going to charge me up the neck. Just trying. Oh, wait a second. Wow. It made progress. Look. Now actually it's getting the script, so it kind of somehow, whatever it did, okay, we'll let it run then. Fine. So look, if there's a will, there's a way. If there's an autocode executing AI, there's a way, maybe. Hopefully we'll get an answer. But I mean, these end up being quite expensive too, so keep that in mind. So if I remember debugger. So see, this debugger executes code with subprocess, see, and then it returns error message But somewhere here, we select the first 100. Well, okay, essentially what I'm saying is that if you make your own code executing agent, which is essentially langchain agent is using subprocess, then you'll have so much more control over the error messages and what you feed back into it. Yeah, perhaps that would be better, Damien. But I mean, this is pretty simple, so it should. I was hoping it would work. See, again, it's getting that invalid syntax. But let's. Anyway, but it gives you the code. Look, like it. I mean, here's the thing. Let's not be too dismissive quickly, because look, it had essentially conversation. LLM. So LLM is OpenAI. Tool. We have a tool. We have a fake agent, but it didn't define the fake agent class. It kind of tried to combine the code. Hey Nadia, yeah, sure, I will. Actually, I kind of started enjoying live streams, but I had a horrible experience at first with streaming. I was just every time it was a kind of like a disaster. I also am doing every 2 weeks AI workshops for Patreon supporters. Check that out too. That's via Crowdcast, where the people who are in the live cast can actually speak back, kind of like Clubhouse. Okay, I'm getting confused. What were we doing? So invalid syntax. Yeah, this is not essentially this is not ideal, right? SORP API wrapper. Okay, that's good. See, we want this kind of errors. SORP API object has no attribute search. Why is that? Oh, because it tried to define the function as search.search. Because I mean, if this would be fine if we weren't using GPT-4, but if this keeps going, it's gonna rack up quite a lot of monies, token usage. Oh yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. So as I was saying, this one, if you were to make your own agent, essentially, because if you were to do something like this, you can actually get user inputs every so often too. In its current implementation, this doesn't. And then you can return as much of the error as you like. Print the first, this is the print. I think this one currently returns the entire error. Yeah. But you can choose, like for example, result. See, you get when you run this result, you can choose which errors it's going to include. I believe std out is the entire output. So we're getting the entire output. Plus, you can just get the error, for example. And if you're getting the std out, you can just like, give it a like -100 characters. sorry, I like this, negative 100 characters on. So you get the last negative 100 characters. You can include the entire traceback. So you could really maybe try to have better luck with it. Yeah, and then create a local LM. Somebody also asked on is a comment in YouTube. Well, this is expensive. Can't we just run Vicuna or Llama or something? I mean, I'll just say this, that this already like this is already struggling with GPT-4 and GPT 3.5 was struggling with extracting URL information as good as it should. Oh, we said we were going to test that, so let's test that. Because we have a kind of like a baseline here, which was, let me go back to it. So this is what it extracted. This is what GPT-4 extracted out of that URL. Because remember we are extracting? It wasn't this one. Which one did we try? Yeah, custom LLM agent, was it? Okay, but we know for sure that documentation. We know that for sure GPT-4 can extract the necessary information from this page. We had done it. I'd done it multiple times. I know that that works. So let's run this. With we're gonna do it with GPT 3.5 Turbo. We're gonna load a URL. This one. Let's see what it extracts with the same prompt. But this is a pretty simple one. I mean, I've tried GPT 3.5 Turbo. I didn't have the best of luck. My point was that if GPT 3.5 Turbo can't do it very well, and GPT-4 even struggles at times, like no local model is going to be able to do it, is my guess. So that's what, you know. Because it would be awesome if GPT 3.5 Turbo can do this. See, look, it only got the API call. It didn't return the response object. It didn't return the proper response element. So we needed this, plus that for like that. These are the essential information. So that's the issue. If you were to switch to GPT-4, run this again. Hopefully it won't embarrass me. Because if you have this information, all three, then you can, this is essentially all you need to make API calls and everything that, like, you can return the token usage. No, it's fine. It's good to know the limitations as much as the what it can and cannot do. Like in the original video, for example, I demonstrated like GPT-4 itself cannot do it from instructions. Like there's no way to do these. Like if you were to ask GPT-4, create a custom LLM agent, like create a custom langchain LLM agent with conversational buffer memory, it's just not going to be able to do anything. Mike says if I had a chance to try out Flowwise, Flowwise. Oh, it's JavaScript though. Oh, I mean you run this and then play with it. I'll take a look. I looked at LangFlow. Is it like LangFlow? I'll keep this in mind. Does it return code from, like, you create this setup? Does it then return the code to you for usage so that you can use it? Is my question. What were we doing? Oh yeah, see, look, it's not gonna return code. Train the LLM. It's trying to train it. So this is not gonna work, right? But what we can do is I have access to web browsing with GPT-4. So we can ask the same question. This one. Look. So new chat with web browsing with GPT-4. And then hopefully we're hoping it's going to browse to langchain documentation, search for it, and return something good. Oh, they're busy. Oh, I see, endpoint user. But I would much rather prefer if to return code. So it's not browsing. It does the browsing in the beginning usually. So, but we can prompt it, browse langchain documentation for information. See, now it's browsing. And yeah, see, remember GPT 3.5 only returned the API call. GPT-4 returns the API call plus the response object and how to extract assistance reply accurately. So yeah, goes to show. So anyway, GPT-4 is browsing right now. It browsed the welcome page, to the memory, to how to write custom LLM wrapper. It's kind of diverging. LLMs. How to write a custom LLM wrapper. Click failed, and it clicked on another thing. Again, the same one. I've tried this. This kind of fails more often than not. How to customize conversational memory. What ends up happening here is it clicks on too many links and it gets confused. Then another thing I try is that, well, why don't I give it the link to browse? Which would be this link plus plus this link. I can tell you right now, this is gonna fail. It's taking too long anyway. Okay, let's try that, Damien. So you're saying run this, right? And also, I think I like custom agent. Was it this one? Yeah, this one. So you're saying get this. This was the link anyway. And then try one change this time. All right. So we first get the content. So there's a lot of moving part. There are a lot of moving parts to this code. Like if this fails, then the rest of it's gonna fail. On the other hand, if you can give the entire thing as a context, but then you can either get confused with too much information, or you run into token limitations. You could have just copied this code. You shouldn't have problem with this one anyway. So GPT-4 is stuck. I'm gonna just take my, see, it's just stopped. It wants to regenerate. Now what we can do is for GPT-4, try to give it this and say browse the following links. So instead of expecting it to find the right links, we can give it the links. Browse the following links. And then the conversational buffer memory with the information. And then, okay, we said browse, create a custom agent with conversational buffer memory. Let's see what it does. So in the meantime, I guess this is what we got. So we're gonna say use the code from the content and run it without modification and without any errors. Let's see. In the meantime, GPT-4 is browsing the custom agent, which is exactly what we said to go to. Then again, it browses the same page. It just keeps browsing to the agent types. So it's like it's kind of, it's getting confused a little. Okay, it got the conversational buffer memory and it's saying do this. Here's how you can use langchain. Well, we can test that. Although it's not going to work because it doesn't have the agent class. So it has to define it. So it's not going to work. It essentially just create an LLM agent with conversational buffer memory. Even if it works, it just might. Conversational predict. We'll probably have to do this to it, but no, here, okay. Let's do this. While true. Hi, my name is Memo. What is my name? What is my name? Hi. Okay, it's not working as intended. In the meantime, say it's running into errors. Fake so there's an error. Fake agent object has no attribute tools. I'll add the missing attribute. It might be that the original initial extraction was not good, we can try copy pasting it. So instead of using a URL, we're going to paste this, then say run this code without any errors. Let's look at, oh, okay, so so I mean, if any of you have used Bing, like Bing kind of fails at this type of stuff too. I didn't extensively test it, but web browsing with GPT-4 also. What I usually do is I find exactly what I need. I kind of put it together, or I copy and paste code snippets into GPT-4. Like that's the best way to do it, right? But that's a manual process. Like I can say, I can ask GPT-4 to turn this into a single running script. Single running unified, let's say unified running script which accepts continuous user input like a chat format. So you're gonna have such greatly increased success doing it super custom like that, right? Like this is gonna work more often than not. The idea is to automate this process, essentially. That's the whole idea. Because GPT-4 is not going to run its own code. You'd have to copy this, run it manually, get the output error message, put it back in. Oh, am I still live? I accidentally closed my browser. Oh my God. Am I still live? Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. So, oh, look at this. It even introduced async. Let's run this. Oh, so we also completed this. We'll test that as well. Wait, gotta break that. Run this. This is what GPT-4 returned. Okay, let's say, hi, my name is Memo. Look, see, this works. Whatever. So then, see, you would have to copy this here, give it as a feedback, and hopefully it'll try to fix it. So it's a manual process. This is going to get you working eventually, but the idea is to automate it, right? Anyway, so we did get this code. Let's test it here. run this. Okay, look, yeah, okay, it ran. Good. Maybe you're right, Damien, like start one step at a time. But maybe you can, yeah. So possibly so. Then one strategy would be extract. Where was it? Like extract the URLs information one at a time. Maybe save it into a file, like or Notepad or something. Make that working. Then get the extraction from, like, let's say this one. Get that working, and then now give both to it, and then try to combine it. So I mean, there are a lot of ideas. I'm gonna try to improve this. I guess if you count from the GPT-4 Auto Coder, this is the second version, which is able to run its code. But if you feel free to improve it yourselves too. Especially with the prompt. I know prompts have a huge effect. Play around with it. But I guess this is it. I'll end it. But don't forget to use the echohive app, please. You can search all the videos here. I'm actually gonna make a video on how I created this, because this was pretty interesting. Because look how fast it loads. Like, let me load it from scratch. Like, it instantly loads. It has lazy loading, infinite scroll. Look, it loads only when it needs to. And also, this entire website is built from like a CSV file, so that's pretty cool. The entire, like, all of these descriptions and the code download links, including like when a video has multiple links, are generated dynamically. And the reason why it loads so fast is because these are like thumbnail images, so it doesn't load the YouTube stuff right away. Like, only when you click it, it loads the YouTube. If you try to, I don't know if you have a YouTube channel and you want to make a website like this, if you were to load all the videos, like, it's just going to be super slow. That's what happened to me. So you want to use the thumbnails, stuff like that. There were a lot of, and then search is like super fast, because you have to load all the HTML. So this HTML, I'll actually show you real quick, and I will end it after that. I'll make a whole video on this, because it doesn't have to be about YouTube. Like, you can, as long as you have some structured data, like a CSV file, you can create a website from it. So look, this is the HTML file. All right, it has 130, like, it's 3,500 lines of HTML code. This is it. This is what the website runs on. Both the styles and the JavaScript is in here. And there's a code that extracts YouTube video information and then converts it into CSV file. And then there's this file, which is only 300 lines of code, which generates then the HTML file. Then you use this HTML to deploy your app. I actually deployed it as Railway app. So this website is live on my own domain name, but running on Railway apps. Plus that for dark mode, yeah. But you can add all kinds of stuff. I'm gonna add stuff to it. But the thing is that all that HTML code has to be loaded like right away for it to be searchable. Like, it has to be loaded. I mean, see, if you refresh this website, so it doesn't have to display. See, it's not displaying. Like, look at, so it has infinite scroll, but it still has to be loaded, and then that just slows it down big time. So I had to come up with like different ways of dealing with that. So anyway, hope you enjoy it. If you're a Patreon supporter, thanks for supporting, and see you in the next one. I guess this is it. Hope you found it useful. Take care. Okay. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.